go to networking events, sometimes you have the opportunity to stand up in front of a room full of people and share 30, 45, 60 seconds about your business and about you. Now, if you're anything like me, though, when I went to my very first networking event, they didn't tell me I was going to have to stand up in front of a room of 50 people and talk about me and my business. If they had told me in advance that was going to be the case, I wouldn't have gone because I was petrified of public speaking, which is kind of ironic now because I am a public speaker. That's kind of what I consider myself to be. But I remember that time where it was like, oh my gosh, what do I even say? So I'm super excited today to be joined by a Toastmasters champion multiple times. We'll tell you more about that in a minute. Susanna Lähteelä from all the way from Prague. So welcome.
Thanks, Tiffany. Really, really, really glad to be here with you guys.
Super excited to have you here with us today to talk about speaking like a pro, lessons on public speaking from a Toastmasters champion. So we're super excited to have you here with us. She is a BNI member, the educational coordinator, so perfect role for this. Now, as we go through today, if you have questions, comments, you can put those in the chat on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. It will pop on through to us here on Restream. Though if you're on Facebook, either go to this link that's here on the screen or put your name in the comment, because sometimes if you haven't paired with Facebook, we don't know who you are. LinkedIn doesn't give us issues, but let us know questions, comments. We will be looking for that. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Susanna. So she's in the Czech Republic. She is a public speaking coach and keynote speaker who started her speaking journey from Toastmasters organization and has achieved some amazing milestones. She is currently an Eastern European triple champion in public speaking. And from these achievements, she found her passion and made a career for herself in the industry. Follow her journey to grab motivation and tips for talking along the way. Now, something that nobody knows about her, she says she's a pretty open book. Though sometimes I wonder about that. But for many people, it comes to a surprise, like that you used to be a security guard.
Yep, indeed. You wouldn't guess that based on my look, let's say that.
Well, thank you for being here. And I am ready to take some notes on what are some of your public speaking lessons? What should we be doing to be a better public speaker?
I'm more than happy to tell you guys more about that. That's such an I love the industry. I love everything that I do, and I can do that daily. So that's the best part about it. Like Tiffany said already in the beginning, I think the best part of going to BNI networking events, even if it's your first time or the 100th time when you go or you've been there for years, is still the part that you get to public speak every time when you get there. You can practice all around it. You can constantly be involved and you can practice your skills in public speaking. Now, in some occasions, it might be 30 seconds. In some, it might be 45 or a minute when it's just the short elevator pitch. Or then you are lucky and you have your feature presentation that week where you will need to go more into details. I'm going to give you some tips for both of these aspects when it comes to the elevator pitch as well as your feature presentation. So you can grab some good tips to take with you for your next meeting as well.
Yes. And here in the US, we call your elevator pitch your weekly presentation. I'm not sure if that's the same where you're at.
It is.
Translate. Okay. All right. Just in case somebody like you and I get because of networking the elevator pitch. However, if it was somebody brand new to BNI, they might be like, where's the elevator? So just clarifying for those folks.
I love that. That's a good one. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, let's face the facts here. I've been in BNI for 6 months only. So when it comes to any of the names or short of, Tiffany might jump in and correct me in this case. But yeah, let's start about the tips, shall we? So if we focus on solely and only first of the elevator pitches, so presenting your business for your fellow colleagues in your BNI in just a short amount of time. Number one tip that I can give you guys is right before you start talking, take a deep breath. Because when you start talking, if you are already nervous and you feel like, oh my God, now it's my turn, my hands are shaking a little bit. If you forget to take a deep breath, you might just rumble through your presentation and forget what you are going to say. You will see my time is about to become. And even if you miss that part and someone said, now is your time, you still have the 1 second to take a deep breath. So do that for yourself first. Number 2 is actually something that you can do before the meeting itself. Before the meeting, think of it 2 things. Think, number 1, who you are as a human being. You don't need to present this, but that will raise your confidence level. Think, who am I? And number 2 is, why did I start my business? This will start your brainwaves of thinking about you and your business. It will make you feel proud about your business, and hence it will bring out that confidence in your elevator pitch or that short introduction of your business to a whole new level. Now, that's number 2 that you can do beforehand. Number 3 is enjoy. Now, it might sound crazy, and I come from a background where I used to be nervous as hell of public speaking. I hated it. It was the worst thing in the human history for me. But I overcame that fear. And yet still, I look back and I would still tell myself, enjoy, even when I was nervous. Now, why? It's because it sounds ridiculous. But if you tell yourself right before you start talking, enjoy this, you're going to think, I don't enjoy this, but you're forcing it. You're starting to manifest in your brain that I'm enjoying to represent my business. No matter how much public speaking is involved, I'm enjoying of representing my business. And that's a key thing. Those 3 tips are key for your short introduction speeches, I would say.
So it sounds like we need to, take that deep breath, really work on our mindset before, this is why I like what I'm doing. This is why I started it. And then that last one, enjoy. And I'm thinking about the idea of fake it till you make it.
Oh,
so maybe if you don't enjoy yet today that thrill of public speaking, that one day it might come for you.
100%. Actually, now when you said fake it till you make it, I used to preach that sentence. Nowadays, I preach my own quotation, which I think it's more relevant here, is it's always uncomfortable before it becomes comfortable. Because sure hell it is. So just think about it. If it's now uncomfortable, it's inevitable that if you keep weekly doing it, it will become comfortable later on.
That makes total sense. I very much like that. All right. So you gave us a few tips of what to do before we even speak.
Yes.
What else do we want to keep in mind?
Awesome. Let's go on. As we have the time limit today, let's go on to what to do in the feature presentation, as that is more involved of the public speaking. Now, as we go on to these tips, you can implement these also to your shorter presentation of your business. However, it is a little tricky in those seconds or a minute that you will get for presenting your business. But your feature presentation, where depending on a country, you have something between 5 to 10 minutes, I guess, Tiffanie, if I'm not incorrect here.
Yeah, I think I've seen 5, 8, 10.
There we go. So in between 5 to 10 minutes. Perfect. Yes. So if we think about that, the number 1 tip that I can give everybody, because everyone is always thinking and planning, I hope, their feature presentation before they go on stage. Nobody is winging it, I hope. But when you are planning your presentation, number 1 thing that I can say as a speaker coach, as well as a speaker, is think about your structure. Now, there's an easy way that I coach to my clients as well, which is IBC. IBC. I is introduction, B is body, and C is conclusion. Now, in your I, you can really just introduce your business to your fellow colleagues in your BNI. You can introduce who you are. However, use a shorter amount of time for this, because that's not necessarily all what the business is about, to just introducing where it started from. After that, keep going about the body. Keep going on the body of what's the actual message that you want your audience to think about your business, what you want to implement there. How is the business working? Why are you doing what you're doing? And for example, give a tip from your previous client of how did they feel about it. Your audience will get so much better details about your business if you involve something from your previous client. And now the key thing is, don't forget the C. I and B are great to involve, and almost everybody's doing this naturally, but don't forget the conclusion. Don't forget to tell your audience, why are you talking today? What are you looking for? Or most importantly, this is something that your educational coordinator is probably forcing into you every week when you have your feature presentation, but don't just tell who are you looking for. Tell why are you looking for them. When we tap on an emotion to our audience, they're much more interested to give you a referral, for example, when you tell them the reason of why you're looking that person. That can be told in just a short 30-second story, or just giving them a valuable implementation of, I'm looking for this person because I want to tap in here because I have the passion to get into this new industry, for example, just as an IBC. So don't forget the conclusion on every time when you talk. Now, IBC can be implemented, as I said, on your shorter pitch as well, but really plan your pitch beforehand if you try to implement introduction, body, and conclusion on 30 seconds, for example. Now, that's the key thing that I can tell you guys for your feature presenter and overall about public speaking is when you have a structure, your audience wants to listen to you. They want to keep listening what's coming next because the structure is flowing them into it. Now, there is other things that you can think about when it comes to the public speaking during your feature presentation. And one of them works in online as well as in person. That, my friends, is body language. Use it. Be memorable with your body. I know in Zoom you only get about half of your body, but you have hands. Use them. Every time when you, for example, list stuff, use your hands to list these things. Every time if you're comparing stuff, use stuff to compare. But don't be afraid of using your body. Now, I see this. Our chapter here in Czech Republic meets every other week in person, every other week online. So we have a fabulous time to practice both of these bi-weekly. But when we're in person, I unfortunately see really often people getting the stiff legs when they go on stage. Their upper body is working. Maybe it comes from this little time of pandemic when we were stuck on this box over here, but their upper body is working brilliantly and their legs are stiff. So don't forget, when you're in person, move around, go closer to your audience, make those introductions, go closer. Don't be afraid of moving on that stage because that's just going to make you even more visible on the stage. Those two are the biggest tips that I can give you guys when it comes to your feature presentation. They also work on the shorter one, but you know what I mean.
I think it's interesting to think of people that really aren't utilizing their body when they're in person. But yeah, most people just kind of stand up. And sometimes they're even like, when they're standing up. Like, have some good energy when you stand up. It's like you're like, oh, I have to get up now.
100%. Unfortunately, you see both.
Right. Yes. I mean, to me, it's like, it's not when you open your mouth. It's as soon as the person before you stops, they're looking to you. So you have to be ready. Smile, get up with some energy. Now, you mentioned a couple of times practice.
Yes.
Several times you kind of, and when you're practicing. So do you have any tips for practicing your presentation?
For sure, Tiffanie. All right. Well, comes without saying, as Tiffanie said, I've won the Eastern European Champion in public speaking 3 times. I sure as hell practiced my speech before I went to those stages. So when it comes to practice, it's really just getting uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable before it becomes comfortable. Remember that, guys. But the main thing is go in front of a mirror. I know it's uncomfortable as hell to talk to yourself in front of a mirror, but it's worth it. You can see how your body moves, or you can see how your body doesn't move. You can see what's going on overall in you. That's what your audience will see when they're looking at you. Think about it from that perspective. Not only should you be practicing in front of a mirror, the other thing that I highly recommend is practice in front of someone. If you have a partner or a friend or a BNI colleague who you have just a one-to-one meeting, for example, ask them, hey, is it okay if I practice my 30-second pitch in front of you? Can you give me some feedback? They might tell you, and you can ask a brutal feedback from them as well. Another good thing to ask feedback from is your kids. Now, I myself don't have kids yet, but I've heard so many of my PNI colleagues, after I told them, ask your kids for feedback, they all said, oh, Dad, you're so boring. That tells you a lot. If your kid's already telling you that you're boring, your colleagues might have that implemented in their brain as well. So just be vulnerable with yourself when you practice. That's my number one tip I can say.
So I don't have kids either. However, if I can keep my 2 dogs that are just over a year, so they're still teenagers, if I can keep them in, they don't understand the words coming out of my mouth. So if
That's
I can
true.
keep them engaged for 5 or 8 minutes, then I know I should be good for people that can understand my work.
But I need to say that doesn't work for every dog, guys. So don't take it personally if your dog
It does
doesn't
not
listen.
work at all with cats. This is not
No,
a
or rescue
cat-friendly
dogs.
exercise.
My rescue dog of 8 years would run away from me if I tried to speak to him. So don't try it with rescue dogs.
And also, because I know we're chatting a little bit about practicing, 2 weeks ago, I did a video. So you can find it on YouTube. I've got the link here and I'll put it in the chat if it will let me. You can always go to my YouTube channel and look up Yoodli, Yoodli. This has been a tool that I have been using for free. It's still free. It may not be forever, but I've been using as a great little Toastmasters kind of tool to keep track of eye contact, smile, placement in the screen, ahs, double clutches, non-inclusive words. So that's another resource if you want to check it out to go along with this idea of practice. So we have MR Brad Boy 1 who said, gotcha, nice tips. I'll keep this in mind. That's my body language before speaking. Awesome. And then we've got, I definitely agree though. So excellent. Thanks for commenting. So you shared some amazing things with us. If people are looking to learn more about you, about what you do, where can they find you?
Well, I am a millennial, so I'm everywhere. But when it comes to a business platform, you can find me in Facebook, you can find me in LinkedIn, you can find me in Instagram. I am now going on TikTok too. God knows why and how, but I have a TikTok coach, guys. That's where the life is. So I'm trying to keep up. But definitely LinkedIn. I am the most active there, and that's my most active platform. I did launch my new business name, Rimoson, as well last week. So my websites, which I think are now somewhere in here, visible, is under construction at the moment. But in there, you can find all the links for every of my platform and go follow me in, for example, LinkedIn, or just send a connection request. And I'm more than happy to continue a conversation through a one-to-one.
Awesome. Love it. So you can reach her on social, definitely on LinkedIn, the website that's got all the information. I do want to say thanks from one of our LinkedIn users who did say Yoodli is great. Yeah, I've totally fallen in love with a pretty cool tool there. Now, before I ask you that last question of any last minute tips going on, I do want to let you know, for those of you watching, that as always, the third Tuesday of the month is our More Abundant Entrepreneur Show, where we have a segment on more money, more time, and more fun. And after each presenter, we do a breakout room to talk about how to implement what was shared. So this month, we are going to be talking about more money with videos, more time by decluttering, and I'm going to talk about how to make sure that fun makes it in your calendar so the business doesn't take over. So we do hope to see y'all for that. The link is in the ticker there below. We would love to see you. Okay.
Is that like evening time in America? Do I have to stay up for that?
3 p.m. here. You're what, GMT +2?
Yeah, it's 4:30 p.m. here now. So
okay. So it would be like 9 p.m.
I can do that. I can do
that. You can always, you don't have to come on camera. You can just kind of work and watch it from bed.
I can just be a little.
Yeah.
I don't know, sleepy on the background.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be
I'll
good
try.
and fun.
That sounds interesting.
All right. So what is your last tip that you want to leave us with? I know it's like, please take your many years of knowledge and all of that and give me one tip.
If I can give you one tip, it's gonna be twofold. I'm sorry, I can't just give one. No, but one of them was already slightly tapped with Tiffanie. Number one is be energetic. Even if you don't feel energetic, even if you slept 4 hours, even if you had not had your coffee yet, if your BNI chapter meets like ours at 7:30 a.m., all of these kind of stuff. Even if you don't feel like you have the energy, represent your business. Bring the energy. force it out of you and really try to bring it to your audience. Because I hear this constantly, every meeting I've participated, every podcast I've ever been, everybody's always saying, wow, Susanna, you have so much energy. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I was so tired that day. No, energy is not just your energy levels. It's about your personality, how you come up for the other person. So really try to stay energized throughout the meeting every time, because keep in mind, it's your business you're representing. And now the two-folded part, number 2, this is the key thing that I tell to everybody. The number 1 tip for anything you do in life, don't try to be perfect. Because if you try to be perfect, first of all, nobody's perfect. Second of all, if you try to be perfect, you might come across monotone because you try to remember every line that you had and you forgot now to stay human as a vocal variety. Or you just came a little more cocky than you actually wanted to come across to your audience. So be human, be authentic. And the key thing to remember throughout all of that, don't try to be perfect.
I think one of the things I love about BNI is it's a room full of people that are there to support you. They're just happy they're not the one speaking that day, that it's you in front of the room and not them. And so I think it's such a supportive and positive environment to really hone those public speaking skills. There's a couple of us that are in BNI that are professional or public speakers, so that's not how I started. And so I don't think anybody's looking at the presentations thinking, okay, this better be perfect or this better be spot on. We just want to see the love that you have for your business shine 100%. Through in your presentation. Perfection is definitely not required.
For sure. Tiffanie, if I can add one more thing on that. If you guys do have a Toastmaster member, Toastmasters all around the world, if you have a Toastmaster member in your chapter, or you just happen to have someone who has spoke, ask them to use this book. Next time when you have a feature presentation, ask them beforehand, hey, can you take some tips or can you take some evaluation for me for this week on my feature presentation? I would love to grow. And I'm sure they are more than happy to do that. And not only a Toastmaster person, you can ask that from anyone. If you ask people, can you write down how did you feel during my presentation? That will tell you more than anything about your presentation overall. That's all you need to know basically to continue and grow your speaking career as well.
And I love the fact that you said ask them prior to your presentation. Yes. I get people all the time, and sometimes I'm visiting chapters and I don't even know the speaker, and they're like, I'd love your feedback on my presentation. I'm like, I didn't watch your presentation with anything other than, can I get this person referrals on? I don't know.
Oh, I feel you.
I don't watch presentations and think, that's not how to watch presentations unless you want us to do that.
Exactly. And I mean, we do. I mean, when you're a professional speaker, you can give a feedback afterwards, but take it all in. Ask it beforehand. You will get so much more detailed feedback afterwards. You can hear the filler words. You can see the body language. You can be looking at the structure in a different angle, but warn us beforehand.
And if you're still struggling in BNI, thinking about, this public speaking, maybe go check out a Toastmasters club in your area. I'm not going to say that they're everywhere BNI is, but they are a very massive organization. So check it out. They probably have online groups if there's not one in your country or your area. I highly recommend. I did Toastmasters for several years as I started my journey as a speaker. And there's such amazing things happen. And it's different than BNI because it's about being a better speaker. But it's not just about presentations. It's also about those off-the-cuff conversations. So if you haven't yet, maybe check out some Toastmasters to help you be a better public speaker.
100%. Agreed.
All right, Susanna, I'm very excited. Thank you so very much for sharing your tips. Y'all, please leave some comments. Let us know your thoughts. Which of the tips that Susanna shared are you going to try and implement next? And we will see y'all next week.
Bye. Bye.